This video is going to be 9.4, so we're going to be factoring to solve quadratics. So it's not going to be as easy as 9.3 where we are just solving quadratics. Now we have to factor, so we have to use what we learned from chapter 8 to figure out how to solve. So I recommend pausing the video after I explain this and writing this down. So we talked about in chapter 10 the zero product property, okay, or ZPP. So for any real number, a and b, if ab, so a times b equals 0, then a equals 0 and b equals 0. So we're going to have our two factored sets, and we can set both of them equal to 0, because when we multiply them and we set it equal to 0, it means the same thing. Okay, so if we have this, that means using ZPP, because it's set equal to 0, so we have this little happy face, yay, see, we can make a little nose there and a little tongue. So if we have a happy face, that means we're solving. Okay, so we're going to set 4t plus 1 equals 0 and t minus 2 equals 0. So to get this one first, let's subtract 1 to get 4t equals negative 1, and then we got to divide by 4. So t equals negative 1/4. Okay, this one we add 2, so t equals 2. Okay, this one we set x plus 1 equal to 0 and x minus 5 equal to 0. So we subtract 1 and get x equals negative 1, add 5, and get x equals positive 5. So there's my two answers. So again, this is where it's crossing my x-axis at. It crosses at x equals negative 1 and x equals 5, because we're trying to find our roots again. Okay, so 2x plus 3 equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0. So subtract 3 to both sides, so we get 2x equals negative 3. Divide by 2, so x equals negative 3 over 2. Add 4, so x equals 4. So again, here's my two roots. So my two zeros, it's also called zeros because it is on my zero line. So it's where it's crossing my x-axis at. Okay, this one we have to factor first, so it's an extra step added onto it. So two things that multiply to get me 15 and add to give me 8. So 5 and 3 do that, so x plus 5, x plus 3, and it's still equal to 0. So we got to set both of these equal to 0. So x plus 5 equals 0, and x plus 3 equals 0. So subtract 5 from both sides to get x equals negative 5. Subtract 3 from both sides to get x equals negative 3. That's where it's, if I graphed this, these 2 points right here is where it's crossing my x-axis. Okay, so two things that multiply to get me negative 20, add to get 1. We got 5 and negative 4, so p plus 5, p minus 4 equals 0. Set them both equal to 0. Okay, subtract 5, so p equals negative 5, and add 4 to both sides, so p equals 4. So there's where it's crossing my x-axis at. Okay, this one's different, okay? It's not set equals 0. It always has to have a happy face before you set it equal to 0. You have to make it happy before you do anything else. So we got to subtract 18. So we're going to get 4x squared minus 21x minus 18 is equal to 0. Okay, is there a GCF? No. So we get to do the long process. We got to send that 4 back. So we're going to get x squared minus 21x minus 72 is equal to 0. So two things that multiply to get me 72 to add to get negative 21 is 3 and negative 24. So I'm going to have x plus 3, x minus 24 is equal to 0. Whatever you sent back, you divide by. So divide everything by 4. So I get, remember, bottoms up if you can't simplify, so 4x plus 3. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So now we can set these equal to 0, so I'm going to change colors. So 4x plus 3 equals 0, and x minus 6 equals 0. So we can add 6 to both sides and get x equals 6. Subtract 3 till we get 4x equals negative 3. Divide by 4, so x equals negative 3/4. So that's my two spots that it crosses my x-axis at. Okay, this one we got to subtract 21. because it's not, we don't have our happy face. We need our happy face before we can do anything. So two things that multiply to get me negative 21, add to get me negative 4, so negative 7 and positive 3. So p minus 7, p plus 3 is equal to 0. Okay, so p minus 7 equals 0, and p plus 3 equals 0. Add 7. So p equals 7 is one of ours. Subtract 3. So p equals negative 3 is another one. Okay, this one's a little, we still have to set both things equal to 0. So this time, this is one set and this is my other. So I'm going to say negative 3 instead of equal to 0, and 2n minus 5 equal to 0. Okay, because this is the same thing as negative 3n minus 0 if I wanted to do that. So that's why we're setting it equal to 0. So divide by negative 3. 0 divided by any number is still 0. Okay, add 5. So we get 2n equals 5, divide by 2, so n equals 5 halves. So those are my two answers. This is very similar, so if I take c squared, I have to still get my happy smiley face, so I still have to get it equal to 0, so it's minus 5c over. Okay, there's a GCF in this. So the GCF is c, so we divide both of these by c and put my GCF on the outside. So c squared divided by c is c, 5c divided by c is 5. Now we can set c equal to 0 because that's my first one, and my second one is set c minus 5 equals to 0. So we add 5 to both sides, so c equals 5. So my two answers are c equals 0 and c equals 5. Okay, here's another tricky one. So we need our smiley face, so let's subtract 16, so 9b squared minus 16 equals 0. Okay, my ends are perfect squares, so we can do the shortcut. So square root of 9 is 3. We have to add b's to them. Square root of 16 is 4. And one has to be positive, one has to be negative to give me that negative 16. So I'm going to have 3b plus 4 equals 0. So subtract 4. Divide by 3. So b equals negative 4/3. And then my other one is 3b minus 4 equals 0. So you have to add 4 to both sides. 3b equals 4, divide by 3. b equals 4/3. Okay, so there's my two answers.